This is the Aftermarket Radio Network. Carm Capriato here, the Aftermarket Podcast Guy, and welcome to the 634th episode of Remarkable Results Radio. Hey, don't forget, there's also 215 Town Hall Academy episodes, 50 Aftermarket Weekly shows, 90 for the record episodes, and 89 Carmcasts. Now, hey, I know, I get it. It's a lot of content at your fingertips, but so well worth diving in and consuming a few crunchy episodes just for breakfast. Hey, find every archived episode categorized on my website at remarkableresults.biz. April 16th, 2021 was a really big day regarding a Supreme Court ruling where Google had violated Oracle's copyright of its API. Why are we talking about it, and what does this have to do with the aftermarket? Well, a lot. I'm honored to have Aaron Lowe, Senior Vice President of Regulatory and Government Affairs, as my guest. Aaron breaks down the impact that the ruling can have and will be to the industry. Listen up. Where else would you find important and relevant news coverage than right here at Remarkable Results Radio? Hey, learn all about it and the impact this ruling may have on our future. This episode is possible through the great sponsors Apex and Shopware. Hey, imagine being able to see new product, tool and equipment demos in a simulated real-world shop environment, complete with 8 service bays, lifts, vehicles, and even a service counter area. It's set to launch at AAPEX 2021, November 2nd through the 4th in Las Vegas. Hey, find out more. Visit AAPEXshow.com for details, and I'll be there right smack dab in the middle of Joe's Garage with my podcast studio. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Do you remember the 90s? Well, I know your shop management system does. Printing paper, shuffling clipboards, leaving voicemails. Grab a paper clip while you're at it and pull some trouble codes. The check engine light's flashing and your profits are running lean. Smarten up. Go to getshopware.com. Hey, the key talking points for this episode reside on remarkableresults.biz/E634. Hey, warm welcome to Aaron Lowe, Senior Vice President, Regulatory and Government Affairs for the Auto Care Association. Hello, Aaron.
Hello, Carm. How are you?
I'm great, man. Thank you for coming so soon after we heard of the big Supreme Court ruling. And I wanted to be sure that we got this story out and make sure that the industry really knows what the heck happened.
It's a great case, and it really didn't start with the aftermarket. It was Google versus Oracle. And Google was using some of the application programming interface for Oracle for the phones. Oracle sued them on copyright infringement. The lower court found that they could copyright the API. That copying or using that software and copying it was copyright infringement. So they brought it to the Supreme Court, and our concern was that this would give power to the original equipment manufacturers to limit access to their software so that we couldn't build compatible parts. I mean, cars right now are software on wheels. They're full of modules that control virtually every aspect of it. And if you can't have access to build compatible parts with that software, sooner or later, the original equipment manufacturer will be able to control the aftermarket. So that's why AutoCare filed an amicus brief in the Supreme Court, along with a company called Static Control, which is in the copier business. The copier, they do cartridges ink cartridges in the copier area, and they have a lot of problems because companies that manufacture copiers build software into the cartridges so that you're forced to use only original equipment. And so they have a stake in this as well. And so they joined us in the amicus brief, and sure enough, the Supreme Court ruled they sort of dodged the copyright issue, whether you could copyright the API. But what they said, using it to build compatible, to copy it for compatible parts is fair use, which means that you can't prevent, somebody trying to build a compatible part from using some of the API software lines of software, which is what Google was doing. So, yeah, it was a big victory for Google, but I think, a lot of other groups like the aftermarket, especially the aftermarket right now, are breathed a sigh of relief. It doesn't necessarily open up any avenues for the industry, but if the Supreme Court had ruled in favor of Oracle in this case, it could have provided a lot of avenues for the manufacturers to limit access. And that's why we were very happy that we were able to, the Supreme Court found in favor of us, favor of Google on this case.
I couldn't help but be out at a home supply and saw all these refrigerators this weekend and saw these computer screens on it. And can you imagine not being able to get the local appliance guy to come in and tweak your refrigerator someday because it was copyrighted?
Yeah, I mean, you just think of all the different areas where you need software to be able to to buy another component that isn't original equipment. If we put on things on our televisions, we use additional software to connect to our televisions, to everything. And cars are no different now. They're all software driven. Our industry has to do a lot of work now to build parts to be compatible to work with the OE. And this was just going to make it that much more difficult and give the OE more tools to limit that.
I could only imagine a consumer revolution if it went the other way. The sooner or later you get in a line and you wait for service because you're handcuffed. There's no other place to go. And I'll never forget being out one day on Long Island City at Standard Motor Products and watching how they would take an OE component and look to decide, hey, do we put this in our product line, and watch how they would take it apart and reverse engineer something. And then not only from the mechanical side of it, but then having the non-mechanical side or the software side that is running these components today. Thank you so much for filing that brief. Did you actually have to appear in the Supreme Court?
No. Nobody appears in the Supreme Court except the two parties that are arguing the case. No, it's hard to even get into the Supreme Court. You can't get in these days. It's all virtual. But if anybody ever has a chance to go and view a Supreme Court hearing on a case, it is fascinating. The judges asking questions and the go-between between the different attorneys. I think it's one of the most fascinating parts of our government to watch, and a lot of people just really don't ever get a chance to view it. But it's incredible to view, and it is, I think, one of the great things about a democracy that you have a Supreme Court that's able to really discuss these issues, go back and forth, and make rulings that are critical. There's always criticism about our nation, and certainly some of it's justified, but the Supreme Court was something our forefathers worked on, and it's amazing how it works. This is an interesting case in itself. Like I said, if it had gone the other way, it certainly would have been really dangerous. But you're right about what our manufacturers do, and I want to make sure I mention the fact that when you go and tour some of our aftermarket parts manufacturers and what they do to try to build parts that are of such high standards and that work with some of the new technology on vehicles, I think a lot of people never thought we'd be able to do the things we do, that some of our members do today, to do that. So it is really one of the great things about our industry, how industrious they are, I guess, and how they've adapted to the new technology and the advances and stayed abreast of that.
It's pure capitalism. I mean, we want to take care of our customers. We want to build this product, and we want to satisfy their customer. And I can't help but think about patents, and I can't help but think about these copyright laws. And it's almost like, was this a merge of all of that?
Well, actually, it's really interesting because patent law, there is a long judicial history of right to repair under patent law, that when you buy a product, case law is built up for decades, actually maybe centuries, that you can build a part to work with that. You can build a part, you can get it repaired by whomever you want. But copyright law is new in a lot of ways, and especially in the software area. So there isn't that case law. It's only now starting to be built up to support the ability for an aftermarket or for an owner to have that right to repair software-driven technology. It's very new, these cases. Unlike patent law, which already had been existing for years, we're fighting on that issue every day now in our industry. And, AutoCare has worked very hard to try to make sure we have exemptions in Digital Millennium Copyright Act for repair of vehicles, so that it's not a violation of copyright to access software to repair a vehicle. These are new areas that we've never had to explore before, but they're on our plate right now.
Hey, Carm here, and coming up, find out what you can do to make an impact on copyright issues. Hey, did you know that AAPEX 2021 is designating a new area called Repair Shop HQ with you in mind? That's right. This one-stop destination is being designed to meet the product, equipment, and training needs of today's shop owners, managers, and technicians. As part of this edition, Joe's Garage, a simulated real-world shop environment with 8 bays, lifts, vehicles, and a service counter area will feature the latest product and equipment demos. A new dedicated tire section, 3 training theaters, and a diagnostics and telematics area also will be part of Repair Shop HQ. And there's still more. The popular tool and equipment section and the mobile heat transfer heating air conditioning section will relocate to this new area. This immersive environment located on level 1 of the Sands Expo will be ready and waiting for you November 2nd through the 4th in Las Vegas. Now, I hope to see you there. Visit aapexshow.com for details. The automotive industry is blazing through with so many twists and turns and changes. Careful not to crash. Yet amidst it all, the demand for repair is a constant. So the questions remain, will repair shops adapt or die? Well, our friends at Shopware Shop Management Software get it. Their CEO is a shop owner. They understand what it takes to repair cars, and they're ready for the next big thing in automotive. Shopware tailors mainstream web-based technology to the needs of the industry's leading repair shops. You can run entirely digital, phone optional, and paper-free. Interactive online repair orders will not only meet the needs of contemporary drivers, but they are blown away by the experience. Connecting the aftermarket together, Shopware's ecosystem enables next-generation shop efficiency and customer satisfaction without compromise. Full service onboarding and best-in-class support provide everything a shop needs to transform its business and stay competitive long into the future. Enjoy more accurate quotes, more profitable jobs, busier technicians, and of course, happier customers. On the web at getshopware.com. It looks to me like this isn't going away, and you almost have to commit a large part of what you do to keep an eye on all of this.
I have to tell you, quite honestly, it's been a learning experience. A lot of people who know me know I've been doing this for a while, but this is a new area that we've had to learn and get on top of. And fortunately, we've been working with some great attorneys that have extensive expertise in this area. We've really become very aggressive in trying to protect our industry's right on the copyright area, and we're going to continue to do that.
It's honorable, and we thank, Auto Care Association and having you on staff to, if you will, lead this. And I just heard hire attorneys to go in and represent this great industry of ours. What about all your members, your great supplier members? What kind of encouragement were they giving you?
That's a good point, because we've had to go to our members and talk to them frequently about software and what we need and what's important to them. And, that's some of the things I've done over the last several years, is tour some plants and get to better understand their process and how they manufacture. And, fortunately, we have a lot of companies have been really good about giving us information and helping us to understand this really kind of new area for our industry. We're definitely in debt for them, and the industry is in debt for some of these companies that have worked with us very closely to try to help defend our industry. It's going to be a tough battle, and certainly, just like a lot of the tech companies, they want to protect their copyrights. They want to protect their software. And certainly in some cases, it's very legitimate. And we have software that our members developed that they want to protect. But we want to make sure that there's ability to compete, and that our consumers always benefit when there can be competitive products out there to benefit and to repair, modify, or whatever. We want to make sure that's available. And so hats off to our industry, but we still have a long way to go on this issue.
Hats off to that about protecting the software and our intellectual property, yet you can't stifle the fact that the consumer will win, I think, ultimately by making sure that whatever they bought can get repaired. And if not necessarily by the OE maker, someone else who's got the bucket of tools to come and help you out.
That's right.
We appreciate that you're keeping an eye on this and it won't go away, and that the industry is supporting you and that you're supporting them. What can we do as the service aftermarket to pay attention to this? Would you ever put up a call to action that we can help with?
court actions don't necessarily warrant grassroots activism, but we do need help and expertise in this area. So we're always, groups that want or companies that want to provide us information on this issue or concerns they have or issues that they've had to deal with. Please, let us know. We really need. Our members need to keep us abreast of what's happening in their worlds, because that helps us better defend them. And certainly some companies have reached out to us where they've had some individual issues and we've used that to help us in guiding us in some of the work we've done. There may be time, we are looking at the Digital Millennium Copyright Act as possible, some revisions to try to ensure the aftermarket continue to operate and repair vehicles without having problems with violations of the anti-circumvention prohibitions in DMCA. So that may be a legislative battle in the not too distant future. At this point, we're not seeing anything in the next, near term, but over the long term, I think that may be an area where we may need help in that. But that may be down the road. Right now, what we really need is our members to just keep us informed on issues they're facing in the software area so that we can stay abreast of this.
Will the OEs, do you think, look at this decision, Google versus Oracle and that whole copyright thing, and say, ooh, we've got to do something about this?
We're always watching for that. That's something we're always concerned about. These are bigger issues than just the automotive area, obviously, because Google and Oracle are working on it. So, it's not just the car companies we have to watch a lot of other industries that could have impacts on us. I think that's sort of the difference now. We're in a world now where software is ubiquitous with everything. And so what one part of the industry could impact us, just as something that we do could impact other areas, other industries as well. So, everybody's kind of talking to each other. There's a lot of different groups and we talk to other industries about some of the software issues because it helps us understand and better react to what's going on. And so there's a lot of networking going on in the software copyright area. And I think that is benefiting our efforts and certainly other people's efforts. But, I'm sure other sides are doing the same thing.
Well, think about anything that's plugged in or anything that says, hey, get your Wi-Fi and hook it into the Mixmaster. I know I'm stretching a bit here.
I was just going to say I just bought a new oven and it was all tied together into the internet. So it's like there's nothing that's not connected.
Aaron, is that like the Jetsons? You press a button on the way home and presto, you have a roast beef dinner?
Well, at least you may have you may have a preheated oven, or you have something in the oven that's cooking. I mean, that scares me. I don't know why, but on a personal basis, just doing that just worries me. It's that old thing that my parents always told me to make sure the oven is off when you leave, and things like that just bother me. Starting an oven remotely.
Hey, thank you for bringing this to us. I know we don't have to go long on this, but to thank you and the Auto Care Association for keeping an eye on it for us and, publishing the kind of documents that help us learn and understand and to be a sentinel for the entire automotive aftermarket. Aaron Lowe, Vice President, Regulatory and Government Affairs, Auto Care. Aaron, thanks for all that you do.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier Automotive Aftermarket podcast. Until next time.